Okay, welcome back, John. So today we're going to go over some assessments you took the other day. Now, I wanted to just say one thing right out of the gate. Assessments are simply just a snapshot in time. Now, as you recall, you took all three of these assessments were administered on the same day. Now, this means that if a person was experiencing a particularly good or bad day, then these assessments will likely record this in the results. So, because of this, ideally, we like to take further assessments over time, and this creates a bigger, fuller picture. I tell people it's kind of like a puzzle. Each assessment is like a tiny piece of the puzzle. The more puzzle pieces we get, the bigger picture we get. So that said, the assessments we did have you take the other day, it does provide us with some valuable information for now, particularly when we compare them with your recent symptoms. So beginning with the Beck Depression Inventory, I just want to remind you that the purpose of this assessment was not to diagnose clinical depression. Instead, it simply highlights any current symptoms of depression you may have. So it looks like you definitely scored on the high side, which it simply means that you were feeling really high levels of depression at the time of assessment. Now your score, it's high enough, it indicates that we need to pay close attention to this and address it, and we'll get to that later. The second assessment you took, the BHS, it looks like this just took a look at your current outlook on life and your view on the future, and it looks like John, it looks like you're struggling in this area too. Lots of folks struggle in this area, and certainly we want to do all we can to help make sure you start feeling better soon. So the third assessment, the Beck Anxiety Inventory, assessed your current levels of anxiety. Now, earlier I mentioned that assessments are just a single snapshot in time. While this concept is still true, this particular anxiety assessment is slightly different because it measures your level of anxiety based on symptoms for the last month rather than only how you felt at the moment. So, therefore, we see this assessment as holding a little bit more weight in terms of measuring longer term symptoms. So, we can think of it as maybe two or three, maybe even four pieces of the puzzle. It's still not a big picture, but it's a slightly bigger picture. Now, on this assessment, you scored pretty high here, frankly, on the high end, John. So while anxiety is certainly uncomfortable, it's also our body's way of getting our attention, telling us that something in life is just not right. So it's kind of like a check engine light coming on our car when the motor starts running hot. And we want to check our body's check engine light when they come on. So now we all experience anxiety in life. There's really no way to avoid this completely. How this anxiety assessment works is it compares your level of anxiety to the general population, and still you scored awfully high. So this is something we want to address right away as well, John. What else we really need to determine is whether your depression is related to your anxiety. If it is, and if we can identify the source of anxiety and then eliminate or at least reduce it, then hopefully you can find some substantial relief fairly immediately. However, it's important to note, though, that even if you do start feeling better right away, that again, just feeling better, that this too is just a snapshot in time. So our overall goal is to see you feeling better over the long run. So if you feel a few days feel better, that's great. I hope you do. But what I want to see is you feeling better over the next few or several months before we really start feeling comfortable with this. So for today, I'm going to teach you some exercises to cope with anxiety, and we're going to start exploring possible sources for anxiety right away. We want to see if we can help you start feeling some relief in this area as soon as possible, John. Then each week when you come in to see me, I'm going to have you take another depression inventory at the beginning of each session so we can start building that bigger picture that we talked about. So one thing we might want to do, if you're comfortable with it, of course, is to bring your wife in, invite her to come in and give her perspective and observations. Though these observations will obviously be limited as they're coming from a person outside of you, they can still be really valuable information for us. For now, I'd like to begin by asking you just a few questions, in particular, just things like your past history with suicide, suicidal feelings, and I need to know how you're feeling right now. So, John, if you're comfortable and with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and begin that.